Hello guys, it's Spurs 21 here back with another video for you. I wanted today to try and look at what's been going on at Spurs. The recent decline in our form, the question marks over the style of play, and generally who's more culpable. Is it the manager not setting up right? Is it the players not executing it? Or is it somewhere in the middle? Is it one way or the other? Nobody seems to quite know. So, thinking back through the season so far, you think notable games that we've been clinical in Mourinho's style, if you will. Southampton, when we won 5-2, you know, there were rough patches in that game. We started the game poorly, we went 1-0 down. We had one chance in that first half, right at the end, which Son scored. And then we came out in the second half and literally had, 4 chances and scored 4 goals. So, we had brilliant setup play to get the opportunities, but then clinical finishing as well. The Man United 6-1 win. Very, very similar to that aspect, I know obviously it was, somewhat helped with the red card in the game, but even so, we dominated with our pace and behind, and again with taking our chances. Then you look at the games like against Man City and Arsenal, for example, that we won 2-0, games that we scored in early with, then we sat back and allowed the other team to have the ball, but without really creating a clear-cut opening. Sitting pressing with a double hold in midfield, a solid back four, and that way you leave your front, essentially your front 4 players up, so that when you win the ball, they're immediately up there, and you can immediately get yourself into a position to counter-attack and score. And you saw both games. That's how our goals came from. And when that system works, it is near enough flawless, because you can't. The other team is struggling. Number one, if they concede early, that means they're always chasing the game, so they play into your hand. And of course, they have to force people forward, which then leaves them more open to a breakaway and a second goal, which, as you saw in those games, both of those times happened. So I do believe that the setup, when it's used properly, is very effective, and we've seen it work this season. However, there are several times where it hasn't, and it's been too much the other way. Not just recently. You think of Crystal Palace. You think of Wolves. Just a couple of games during the Christmas period. You think of Fulham as well, and of course more recently the Brighton game on Sunday. It gets to the point where we always voluntarily just don't venture forward and just allow them to just keep the ball 70% of the time, and just seem to, instead of knowing that we're planning ahead, it's always like relying on luck rather to get that break rather than planning for it. And so as a result, you're just banking on one opportunity to score, if you're lucky, and that's very, very risky to do. And especially when you're you have a team that is known for being fragile, particularly against set pieces and crosses into the box, which I'm certain at least 80% of our goals we've conceded this season have come either from set pieces or from crosses in the box. It's a very, very common, well-known thing, that's been the weakness of the team the whole season. So the question becomes, is Mourinho setting us up deliberately like this? Or is he setting us up differently, but the players are just aren't doing it as he tells them to, or just are not good enough to execute it? I'm trying not to be one side or the other on this, but Because as I said, I do think there are times it can work, but I do feel too often that we get, particularly in more recent weeks, we've been in a position where we've had that ball for the breakaway and not been that fast, accelerating burst of counter-attack that we were earlier on in the season. And I don't know if it's the system, if it's the formation. I personally don't think three at the back works for us. I know it's come in the last few weeks. I personally don't think it suits our style. I don't think the players are comfortable in it. That's just my view. I think, a solid back four with a midfield three suits us right. And that was what was successful earlier this season for us, and I think that's what we should get back to. And, I think sooner or later, if the results don't turn around, everyone's eyeballs are going to be at Mourinho. I know that they sort of already are, but it will be magnified more and more if this continues. So, and especially if the performances carry on as they have been over the last couple of weeks. But I'm not prepared to go, to go for that just yet. The season's not a lost cause yet. We're still in all three cups. We're only with a game in hand, which if we win, we're only 3 points away from top four. So the season it's not lost yet. But if we're not careful, it could be all over very, very soon. So, the clock's ticking down on them to everyone, actually. You can't just point the finger at Mourinho. It's got to be down to the players too, because I mentioned it at the Brighton game yesterday. Fucking a lot of them would just seem to be at half effort. Which is the one thing I can never accept. I can accept us losing games, but I can't accept them not trying. In the next game we've got Chelsea, and trust me, if that gets repeated against Chelsea, yeah, then you'll see the fingers start getting pointed by all of us. Anyway, that's just my little personal view on it, guys. What do you guys make of it? Do you agree or disagree? Who do you think it's Jose? Do you think it's the players who's more culpable of it? Can we fix it? Leave all your thoughts as ever down in the comment section below. Thank you as ever, guys, for your incredible support on the channel. And if you are new, hello, and be sure to click that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, guys. I've been Ben Spurs 21. I'll see you soon. And as always, come on, you Spurs.